Greetings, it's Thia. I don't know how long you've been along this journey with me, so I don't. I'm up to around the age of 49 to 50. I'm talking about that critical age cycle where we find a lot of people, believe it or not, when you look at the data, the age groups that I talk about, many people have left the planet of their own hand at these ages. Public figures, people who have talked about it but are still here to talk about it, they also have these same kind of age cycles. So around 49, you have another 7 year from that 42. And on top of that, we have what's called the Chiron Return. Chiron is not a planet, it's an asteroid. It's in Western astrology, it's one asteroid that we use. It's called the Wounded Healer. So if there's any other thing that might show up that could really bring out our woundedness and our fears and our need to feel like we don't belong or that we can't be fixed, Chiron will bring that to the surface. It takes 50 years to go around the sun, so it shows up around 50. We've had maybe some hits along the way that have pointed to that. But as I talked about earlier, I have these clusters of planets that create which are called T-squares. They're 90-degree angles that something has to happen. Just living with them every day have their own challenges. But when certain planets come along and tap into one of those 6 planets, I feel that energy and it's like, do something. So for me, 4950 was a whole nother experience, not related to leaving the planet or wanting to leave the planet. It was about changing my life. I literally changed my life. I left what I had known all my career as an adult, my lucrative career in executive management, and I left the state that I loved. I left my friends. I left my property. I moved to a spiritual community on a mountain in the center of the country, literally in the center of the country, within 100 miles of the very center point of the United States. And I attended a seminary and participated in that community. I lived there for 7 years. Imagine that, 7 years. It was a 7 year cycle. And so I changed everything in my life. Now, I would tell you that was for a really good thing, that I was responding to my woundedness. However, there were some significant things that happened that came by later that I wasn't aware of. I also walked away from the biggest majority of my income, my resources, all the things that fall within a group. My values were changing. That in that area, uh, field of experience, as I call it, in the house of resources and inner values, value of self, all that was impacted. But I really didn't get that hit till later. About 7 years later, actually, I was like, oh, that happened then. And I wasn't paying attention to that. I was paying attention about how much I was going to learn to be something else and do something with all this knowledge that I had accumulated and this wisdom that I knew existed within me. And I shared it when I had the opportunity, but there was much more to learn and to become a part of in the world of mysticism. And that's what I was drawn to. So I had that experience. A lot of people don't have that kind of experience. They have an experience where it hurts and the woundedness comes to the surface. And if it hasn't been worked on at all in their life, it just plumps on them. And they're like, oh my gosh, it hurts so much. I can't do this anymore. We do know several public figures that left this planet at 50 or 51, and that was a choice they made, maybe 52. In fact, there was a pretty well-known designer that left at her own hand, and that woundedness just hadn't been healed. I think part of the reason that I didn't have that kind of dragging me to the point of like not wanting to be here, but opening up anew, was that I had been working on stuff. Probably when I hit that other period of 29, I became very spiritually aware. And as I always say, I started my spiritual path in Al Anon. I had a propensity for addicts that I could really be of service to. So I struggled through that through all those years. But I had worked on my path to the point that I think when I got to the Chiron return at 50, it was time to do something different. And I did. And so I managed to get through that period. A lot of people struggle because it is that woundedness that is so deep that we don't know about it, or it happened to us as children, or maybe we even brought it in with us in this life. And it just is wounded until we start making it the healer. And that's what I believe. I believe that we're all wounded and we're all healers. And the more we work on our own woundedness and our own wounds, we become healers. Not everybody thinks of themselves as a healer, but the truth of it is, if you've worked on your own woundedness and you have figured out what some of your challenges are in this life, then you've done healing. And there's nothing more powerful and more relevant in the whole field of healing than to heal thyself. And through that process, you can turn around and help heal others. And I believe that's a one stay process that we are to experience in life. It's part of our journey. And so at this time, the 50, 49, 50, 51 becomes a time when all of that comes forward. And we have to assess how we've done. But if you don't know it's there, you don't know it's coming, you don't know where it's at. An astrological chart uh, shows what I call fields of experience, 12 fields of experience, which are houses. And I guess it's getting close to time I'm going to need to start sharing some charts because I don't want to speak that astrobabble that I talk about. But there's fields of experiences that have different areas of our life. In that chart, every area of our life is covered. And not just in the mundane way, but if we carry it further, it's our soul level, it's our, there's a physical, emotional, mental, spiritual level, soul level, esoteric level. It's unlimited information. That's why when I start working on a chart, I always say, please bring what this person needs at this time. Bring it gently, bring it clearly, and bring it in the highest good of all situations. Because there's so much information, it's impossible to share it all. So through that intuitive process, I always hope that the right messages come through. Okay, so here we are, 51, 52. We haven't worked on any of our woundedness, and it comes rolling on down. And let's say it's in the field of experience of, let's say, home, property, mother, psychological foundation. All that is in that field, which we call the fourth house. And let's say your Chiron's there. And so here comes Chiron, boom. So some area of your life, whether it's around mother wounding that you had, or psychological wounding that you have, or property things that have wounded you, or, past experiences, it comes to roost, as I would say. It really comes to hold that space until we deal with it. And I can't tell you there are millions and millions of people who don't deal with it then either. They move on. And luckily they're still here, hopefully, and they go on to the next significant time, which turns around again about 58 to 60. So during this period of the 4950, if things are starting to feel tense, heavy, overwhelming, maybe it's time to talk to your astrologer. Maybe they can help you understand some of that. If you're just starting to look at your cosmic connections, it's a good time to start. But I will tell you this, any time in your life when things feel tight and tense and you don't know where it's coming from, you can talk to your astrologer. You can talk to this astrologer. It's always in the planets. And discovering that is life-changing. It's just life-changing. And it's hard for me to talk about this I come from the generation and the one ahead of me that, that's just nonsense. I still have people, young people, oh, that's just nonsense. Until you do their chart and they're like, how'd you know that? And I go, I don't know. I don't really know that about you. I just know that this is the cosmic connections that you brought in. This is the design. So you have a life path. Okay, so there's that life cycle, 4952, and I'll be moving on now. So I'll see you next time. Bye bye.